You don't have to read far in the Bible to discover how instrumental the prophet Moses was in God's initiative to make himself and his will known to mankind. You will recall that it was through Moses that God would demonstrate his sovereignty and power in causing 7 plagues to come upon the nation of Egypt, in causing manna to fall out of heaven and parting the Red Sea. It was also through Moses that God would reveal his will, his moral and civil will to mankind through the giving of the law. John 1:18 tells us that the law was given through Moses. We might consider Moses as one of the more privileged of the prophets in regards to God's willingness to communicate to and through him in the visible manifestation of his presence. God would tell Aaron and Miriam in Numbers 12:6-8, "Hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I myself will make myself known to him in a vision. I will speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my household. With him I speak mouth to mouth, even openly, not in dark sayings, and he beholds the form of the Lord." It is without question then that Moses was one of the most significant and special instruments God used to carry out his divine activity in history. But aside from being the agent through whom God would perform some of the greatest miracles in history, and the one through whom God would deliver his law to mankind, Moses was at his best in representing the nature and character of our God when the glory of God was reflected from his mortal body. You will recall during the Exodus that it was the Shekinah glory, veiled in a cloud, that would lead the children of Israel by night as they journeyed toward the promised land. But what does the Bible mean when it refers to the glory of God? In the Bible, the glory of God refers to the reflection of his essential being. It is the reflection of God's divine mode of being. It is the manifestation of the glory of God that allows for mankind to experience miraculous closeness to his essential being. Closeness to God. In Exodus chapter 33, and I invite you to turn there with me now. Following the children of Israel's sin of idolatry at Mount Sinai in the wilderness, Moses returns up the mountain and intercedes on their behalf. During this meeting with God, he makes one of the boldest requests in the Bible. Verse 18, he says, "I pray you, show me your glory." This is a very interesting request because it is clear from the text that God is present speaking with Moses in a cloud. Moses is able to see something to some degree in regards to God's presence. But we can see, however, from God's response in the following verses 19 and 20, that Moses' desire is to see God in his essence. Look at verse 19. And he said, I myself will make all my goodness pass before you, and will proclaim the name of the Lord before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will show compassion on whom I will show compassion. He said, you cannot see my face, for no man can see me and live. In response to Moses' request to see God's glory, God says, I'm going to make my goodness pass before you.
That's good, son. Come on.
So it is implied from God's response that his glory is synonymous with his goodness. And he says to Moses, in other words, I'm going to allow my goodness to pass before you, but I cannot meet your full request because it will kill you. You won't last long enough to enjoy it.
That's good.
That is why, as I stated previously, the glory of God, it is the sum total of his attributes. At no point, however, can man behold God in his totality and remain alive.
Right.
Moses was therefore limited as to how much he can see. But regardless of being limited in viewing the glory of God, you would have to admit that to behold God's glory to any extent is a privilege beyond measure. Because the glory of God is essentially the manifestation of his attributes, it should come as no surprise that when one is allowed to behold his glory, they are subject to experience a change in appearance. In fact, the influence of God's glory is so strong that in consistently beholding it, one will inevitably begin to reflect his glory.
Come on, son.
Exodus chapter 34. In the following chapter, Moses has had this amazing experience where God sets him off in a cleft of a rock and covers him with his hand, he will say, and allows all his goodness to pass before, and then allows Moses to get a brief glimpse at what he would like to call his backside. And then the Lord restores the commandments that Moses broke as he came down the mountain on a previous occasion and finds the children of Israel in idolatry, committing a great sin before God. And now God has renewed these tablets and renewed this covenant, and Moses is on his way down from the mountain. Look at verse 29 in Exodus 34. It came about when Moses was coming down from Mount Sinai, and the two tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hand as he was coming down from the mountain, that Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone, because of his speaking with him. Moses has this amazing phenomenon upon his face. It says his face shone. This is following his rewarded experience of being able to behold the glory of God. Exodus 34, 29 and through 35, it